2 minutes after 11. So we'll open the meeting and begin the call the meeting to order, and then Mr. Maryboy, are you online? Well, we do have a quorum. Commissioner Adam is here. There you go. And myself and Mr. Maryboy. Yate. Hello.
Are you talking to me?
Commissioner Maryboy, can you hear me?
Oh, sorry.
Whoever is there, yes, I'm here.
Great, Commissioner. This is Lauren Bernally with Navajo Nation
Okay, if we
Human
can
Rights
get everybody
Commission.
else to mute themselves. Got an echo.
Back to the cave.
All right, thank you.
Echo.
It should be ready.
Invocation. Anyone? Thank you, sir.
Right there at the mic. Yeah, so the people online can hear.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we'll give an invocation. Let's pray. Father God, we come before you now just to ask that you would bless this meeting and those here present. We thank you for your grace and your mercy. And Father, we just pray now that you'll grant us the ability to hear well, to think well, and to speak well, and to do what it is that you've put before us. We ask it all in Jesus' name and for his sake. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks.
Thank you. Next is public comment.
Okay, hold on. On the agenda, typically we go through and approve the agenda first. Looks like it wasn't on this. I don't know if you want to do that first before we get into public comments.
It's not on the agenda.
It's not. Usually it is. Last week was where we were at the legislative session. Yeah. We were working late on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to try to get this all put up and out the door.
Okay,
So we missed that one.
read the agenda.
Okay. For your approval on today's agenda, you have, under the consent agenda items, you have approval of the various small purchases of 2 portable generators for $11,018, a mobile TV system for $2,387.88, cargo trailer of $10,089, and $25,715 for Octagon Shelter for the County Emergency Operations Grant, $9,948.27 for Greater Motor Parts for the Road Department, and $6,625 for the emergency vehicle equipment for the sheriff's vehicle. Item number 2, ratification of letter of support to Utah State University EDA expansion project for the Economic Adjustment Assistance Grant. Number 3, approval of the annual operation plan and financial plan between San Juan County and the USDA Forest Service, Manti La Salle National Forest. Item number 4 is consideration and approval of the Relic 2022 contract renewal for the San Juan County Visitor Services. You have an appointment of the following Planning Commission members: Trent Schaefer to continue to represent Monticello, You have Lloyd Wilson to continue to represent the at-large Special Service District, Sheik Khan as the new Planning Commissioner representing Spanish Valley, and Leah Schrank to continue to represent Bluff. Item number 6, approval of the San Juan County Children with Special Health Care Needs Care Coordination Amendment number 3 by Grant Sundra, Public Health, on the consent agenda. So item number 7, approval of the 2019 through 2023 Environmental Policy and Improved Clinical Care Health Department Amendment number 9. You have approval of the Paycheck Protection Program and Healthcare Enhancement Act Expansion 2021 Amendment number 1. Then consideration and approval of Maternal and Child Health Fiscal Year 2021 San Juan County Health Department Amendment number 4. And approval of the 2022 travel reimbursement form and the rate, which is a government rate, federal government rate that we go by. Under business action items, item number 11, consideration and adoption of the Ordinance 2021-11C and Ordinance amending Ordinance 2021 of 11B of the San Juan County Board of Commissioners redistricting the Board of Commission and School Board voting districts as required by Utah statute. Item number 12, consideration and adoption of an ordinance adopting the enforcing the San Juan County fire policy for building in the unincorporated areas of the county. This will be presented by David Gallegos, our San Juan County Fire Chief. Item number 13, consideration and approval of an ordinance of the Board of San Juan County Commissioners establishing rules and regulations for special events within San Juan County. This will be presented by Elaine, our Director of Economic Development and Visitor Services. Under item 14, consideration of the Utah Food Pantry Food Bank Funding Support Letter. I'll present that. Item 15, consideration and approval of letter of support for the San Juan County Event Center application. Elaine will present that on. She'll also present item number 16, consideration and approval of contract with Love Communications for travel and destination tourism data. Then item 17, consideration and approval of a request for rezone for Monticello Development Company LLC. This will be presented by Scott Burton. This was tabled last commission meeting, asked to be put on this agenda. On item 18, you have consideration and approval of notice of award and intent to negotiate a contract with Acme Iron and Metal to perform scrap metal salvage and removal of the landfill. And I'll present that last item, then your commission reports and adjournment after that. That, commissioners, is your agenda for today.
Motion,
I make a motion, we adopt the agenda as presented.
is there a second? Going once? Twice? Mary Boy, are you online?
I think he's there.
Yeah, somebody keeps muting me. Mr. Chair,
I need
before
a
we
second on the
approve,
agenda. Go
let me
ahead.
ask a question first. Is it appropriate to modify the agenda before we approve it, or do you want us to approve it first before we amend it?
I think we can go ahead and second and approve it. As we go along, we can modify.
Okay, second.
Dang, I thought we were going home.
Okay. Any question? There be none? All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. Opposed, nay? 3 in favor, 0 opposed, motion carries. Next, public hearing, public comment, excuse me.
All righty, here we go. So if you're wishing to make public comment, just so you're reminded or aware that we will allow 3 minutes for each person to make a public comment. If you're here in the audience, hopefully you've signed up on this form. If not, let me know. We can sign you up for.
We make a public comment about something on the agenda.
Okay, hold on there, sir. We'll get you. If you can mute yourself, then we'll get to you later on. So those of you that are online, we will go to the online afterwards.
True.
If you are online, there is a raise your hand function on there, and so go ahead and raise your hand, and at that time we will recognize you. And then at that time you can also unmute yourself. With that being said, back to my spiel. Just make sure in your public comments that you are kind and courteous. Try to avoid any cheering or appraisal or applauding in the audience or online. There may be somebody that would have a different viewpoint than you, and because of kind of public clamor or cheering and applauding, they may not want to speak out. And so we want to make sure that we afford everybody the opportunity to give those public comments. And so with that being said, also try to avoid being repetitive in nature. If somebody has already stated it, doesn't mean that you have to state it again. We heard you clearly the first time, or if somebody else presented that opinion, we heard it as well. And so hopefully that'll let us get through this. With that, kind of the ground rules there. If you are online and continue to have like outbreaks on there, we can have the option on our system to boot you out of the meeting, so we can kick you out. In here in person, we would have Megan kick you out. She would, she would have to escort you. No. So continuing forward with our public comments, we will take the people here that are present first and then go to online after that. So the first one that we have on here wishing to make a public comment, we have Ann Lebanon, our mayor of Bluff. Welcome, Ann.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm here to talk about item 5 on your consent agenda. There's an item here to continue to have Leah Schrenk represent Bluff. There was a little bit of confusion on my end. I was of the opinion that Ms. Schrenk's term was not up yet, so I advised the community several times that they need not send a letter of intent in. And then I found out that this was on the agenda. There are several people who are interested in applying. I believe 2 of them have sent in letters within the last 24 hours. And I'm just asking that you continue that matter to be able to hear from other people in the community who might be willing to take that position. This position has been filled for the last couple of years, but the attendance has been spotty, very spotty. And it isn't about the person, it's about the attendance. We really would like to have a seat at the table, and Ms. Schrenk has been unable to fulfill that on a regular, sustained basis. So I'm just asking that you continue that matter to get a couple of other reviews in. Thank you very much.
Does she not want to continue?
I'm sorry?
She
Does
does.
she not want to continue?
She does.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, the next on our list, I have Ron Nelson.
Commission, thank you for your time, and I appreciate all you do to represent the county. My name is Ron Nilsson, Superintendent of Schools for the San Juan School District, and I'm representing the school board this morning with my comments. I'm assuming that there may not be a public comment offered on when we get to the agenda item regarding the redistricting of the school district. So my comments are in regards to that action item. I would like to let you know that the San Juan School District is favorable to option C map. Certainly, thank you for your willingness to look at this again. and to take a second look at this and try to make sure what we get in place is right. We now have an option C map that is on your agenda for consideration, and I want you to know that that is being seen as very favorable based on the following things. First of all, it does allow for our incumbents to be left in their local districts, which allows for local representation, and we feel that is a very strong priority. It is constitutionally legal. Again, it meets all the requirements of the one person, one vote, and it falls within the legal priorities there. It's drawn by an independent consultant who has gotten on the phone and tried to really understand our district and the uniqueness of our county, and done some due diligence there to really know who we are, and who has also, I believe, taken into a lot of public comment and allowed this process to work out. I'm led to believe that there's voices from many different directions that are reaching this independent consultant who has drawn this map. Anyway, for those reasons, we feel strongly that this is the most favorable map that has been presented thus far, and we would strongly encourage the commissioners to hopefully adopt this map formally and hopefully finally for the school district. Thank you.
Okay, the next one on here, I have a Greg Colbreth.
I'll wait till later if that's okay.
You want to wait till, I'm sorry?
Wait till later on.
Okay.
I'll just reserve, I just wanted to get my name in the pot for the appropriate time.
Duly noted. All right. So the next one, I've got Holly Sloan.
Good morning. It's good to be with you guys again. I'm speaking also to consent agenda item number 5, the appointments of the Planning and Zoning Commission. I'd like to ask you to remove this item from the consent agenda, to table the current recommended appointments to P&Z, and to institute a process to review and revise the P&Z bylaws to make the process more inclusive, transparent, and fair. I sent you a more complete letter late last night, but it was late, so you may not have had a chance to read it. The process leading to the current recommendations excluded qualified and involved citizens. The published notification of P&Z openings did not adhere to the P&Z bylaws. It was published in mid-December, on December 15th, leaving limited time during the holidays for people to put their hat in the ring. At least 3 people that I'm aware of were excluded from the process, given misinformation that caused them not to apply, or were not interviewed on the premise that they were not qualified on their applications arrived too late. State law says that the only qualification for a position on P&Z are to be a registered voter in the county for at least 2 years. At least 2 candidates were excluded for a supposed lack of experience. These candidates weren't allowed to interview, so that they could not make a case that they are knowledgeable and could fulfill the responsibilities of the P&Z Commission. At least 1 applicant was not considered because their application was deemed late. 2 other applicants, both of whom are recommended for appointments to the P&Z, also submitted their applications after the nominal December 31st deadline. I have overall concerns about the fairness, transparency, and inclusiveness of the process outlined in the bylaws. The qualifications included in the bylaws, expertise or knowledge of land use, is ambiguous and has been used to exclude qualified candidate applicants. The application of the qualifications seems to tilt the appointments for P&Z in favor of contractors and developers and away from other experienced community members who are well-informed, have committed substantial time and effort to building consensus and trying to resolve critical planning and zoning issues. Land use experience is not required by the state, and we think the county should reconsider this requirement. The bylaws also provide the planning commissioners whose first term is expiring are presumptively to be reappointed for an additional 4-year term if they ask. In effect, this changes the 4-year terms into an 8-year term. This artificially ties the hands of the county commissioners who should have the final say over appointments of such significance to the county. The bylaws delegate control of the appointment process for P&Z to county staff, and provide the participation of only one county commissioner. P&Z issues are often the most difficult and controversial decisions that come before the commission. They should be in your hands. Thanks.
Thank you, Holly. The next one on here, I have Robbie. There's no last name, just Robbie.
And Joe has a handout for you. Did my time start?
It does, absolutely.
Really?
Go ahead. You betcha.
Okay. Well, I would like to say good morning to everybody. Thanks for having us and letting us come and speak. I'm going to talk about item number 17, which is the rezoning. And if you look at the side with the pictures on it, the rezoning item number 17 is a tale of two visions. The San Juan County vision and a developer's vision. If you turn over your paper and you look at the columns with all the writing on it, on the left-hand side of the paper are just 9 of the many citations that I found in the San Juan County General Plan. This is our vision. And there was a lot of input in here from residents and business owners. And this is what we envision San Juan County to be and to feel like. This is how we realize that vision. So for example, back on the handout, the third bullet down, the highlighted part, growth should happen in locations that are within or adjacent to existing communities. However, on the right-hand side in red in that column, there's a developer with a very different vision for San Juan County, and they're attempting to use this amendment to put high-density housing on A1 or RR1 land. The developer's vision is at odds with the county's general plan and vision. Please turn over your handout one last time to look at the pictures. So at the top, you have our collective vision, San Juan County, the people of San Juan County. Below is the developer's vision. Knowing that, I ask you to reject the spot zoning request in item number 17. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next on here, I've got a Joe Mellon. Joe Mellon.
Thank you, commissioners. I'm here to oppose the rezoning of the ranches at Elk Meadows. This kind of development has no business being in our rural community. This is spot zoning, which is a very bad practice. It seems that what's giving this spot zoning legs is an amendment that was passed in 2019. San Juan County has a very good general plan, but this amendment that was passed in 2019 contradicts and goes completely opposite of the general plan, and it allows for development, high density housing, for instance, right now in the Elk Meadows area, that is contrary to the general plan. The general plan, it's this amendment, the 2019 amendment, is a loophole around the general plan and should be repealed as soon as possible. If the commissioners have that power to repeal that amendment, they should do so. Now, as far as the state goes, the state looks at the general plan and says, okay, this is what your plan is. It's been approved. And now the amendment goes against the general plan. It shouldn't even be there because the general plan has to be changed to accommodate the amendment. So everything that this amendment has done is against the general plan and should have never been done. and it should be repealed as soon as possible. Thank you, folks. I appreciate the time.
Thanks, Joe. The next one I have is Carol Van Steeder. Hi, Carol.
Hello. I actually spoke last commission meeting about the ordinance that was just spoken of by Joe and by Robbie, and I'm not here to speak about that today, although I still agree with the way that I mentioned it last time. I'm against that. But what I'm talking about today is there's something on the agenda today that's really disturbing to me. It's I don't know what number it is. It's an ordinance for establishing rules and regulations for special events within San Juan County.
Item 13.
Line 13. So this same ordinance came up in 2001, I believe it was either 2000 or 2001, and this entire room was filled with people very concerned about their private property rights. It came up again in 2017, and the same thing happened. And now here it is again. I understand that the county has some difficulties with large groups and needing to have regulations for some groups, but this is so broad, and it's still broad. It says this ordinance, I will just read parts of this. This ordinance shall govern the time, place, and manner of holding certain special events on county roads or county property and on public and private property in the unincorporated area of San Juan County. Let me reread that. Private property in unincorporated area of San Juan County. It says that the intent of this ordinance to regulate in any manner the content of speech or infringe upon the right to assemble, except. So yeah, that it is infringing upon our right to assemble. This needs to be redone. It says except for the time, place, and manner of speech and assembly. Who is deciding the manner of speech and assembly is correct? To hold an actual or anticipated assembly of 100 or more persons shall be made in writing to the Director of San Juan County's Economic Development and Visitors Centers with a minimum of 90 calendar days in such advance. It also goes on later on in this, stating that they will let you know 5 days in advance whether or not you actually are approved. Exemptions. Nonprofit organizations shall be exempt. Nonprofit organizations shall not be required to obtain a permit under this ordinance, but private citizens do. I don't get that. In instance where a public road organizing group shall comply. Anyway, it goes on and on. I mean, there's some good things. I understand a lot in here, but it's very long, and it's an entertainment event. That would be majority of people that are gathering if it's not a political event or a race of some sort, let's just say. Entertainment event means an organized event, including, but not limited to, parades, carnivals, block parties, neighborhood gatherings on public property. So you are only temporarily here as elected officials, and other people may not interpret it as you, and I really would hope that you would at least redo it. Let's put it aside and redo it so it's a little more specific and not so broad, please. Thank you.
Did I just give her my phone?
Let's see.
Doesn't need it? Okay.
So that was the last that I had on this list. I don't know if Greg, if you wanted to come.
I don't need to speak to that.
Okay.
Just if she didn't have time, then I would.
All right. We'll turn to the online. Those members online that have your hand raised, let's go through the list here. The first one I have is Carolyn Daly. Carolyn, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Can you hear me and see me?
Sure.
Okay, good. I'm on my cell phone, so pardon me if I screw this up. Good morning, commissioners. This is Carolyn Daly from Spanish Valley. I also ask that you move item 5 on the consent agenda to the regular meeting and then table it for now. It is disappointing that several people who were very qualified and eager to serve on the Planning Commission were not considered or interviewed for the vacancies. We are so fortunate in our small county that we have so many educated and concerned citizens who want to participate in our county government process. The process of selection should welcome everyone that is interested and at least grant them the courtesy of an interview to assure that we have chosen the best person for the job. The selection process this year was arbitrary as to which applications were allowed and who got an interview. Deadlines were not uniformly enforced, and people who already served 2 4-year terms were recommended again, which is unfair. Most importantly, you commissioners who are the decision makers have no information presented in your packet as to who all the applicants were and their backgrounds to freely make your choice for this important planning commission who controls all development in the county. It appears that you are expected to routinely approve what is recommended by your staff. I think the planning and zoning bylaws need to be amended so that any interested person has a fair opportunity to be interviewed and considered. The requirement of land use experience effectively eliminates the majority of residents who may wish to participate in the planning process for their community. It also slants the choices to someone that is a builder or a developer. Other skills such as good communication, considering of all views and opinions, impartiality, being well-informed, and conscientious are far more important skills for a planning commissioner. Also, there is training by the state available in land use skills for planning commissioners. So that's not at all required. Please table item 5 until the bylaws can be carefully reviewed and amended, and then restart the process so that all interested people can be interviewed and considered. Thank you so much for your time and consideration of my opinion. I'm done.
Okay, the next one I've got on here is Monet Clark.
Good morning, Commissioners. I want to thank you for your service to the county. Today's agenda is a daunting one for you. I too am concerned about item 5 on the consent agenda. I don't think that the process was done fairly in terms of even following the bylaw requirement that in early November, the public be notified of vacancies that are coming up. That didn't happen. Instead, it was December 15th before a public notice was published in the San Juan Record. And that was 16 days before the due date of December 31st. It met the minimum requirement of 15 days before the deadline, but that was right during the holidays. And a lot of people are busy with other things. And so I think it took the public a little extra time to respond. And this is a default in the bylaws as well. There are many other problems with the bylaws that were passed last February 2020. 2 years ago. There were defects in the bylaws at that time that I sent you a letter about, but you went ahead and passed the bylaws anyway. And so that was done before the appointment of new P&Z commissioners, and they held up the whole process for months to create the bylaws, and then they were defective. So I think that you should fix the bylaws first and then make the appointment. It's just going to cause a lot of conflict if you go ahead and make appointments when there are so many people who are concerned about their process in this. And so I ask that you also table or remove this item from the consent agenda or put it in the action section and then table it until the bylaws can be visited and done correctly so that they're fair government process. It does not thwart the ability of citizens to participate in their government. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next one on here is I've got David Bieber. Bieber. David, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can. Go ahead.
Okay. My name is David Bieber, and I am coming here to discuss item 17 on the consent agenda, which I would like removed from the consent agenda and possibly voted down or considered for a vote. The spot zoning that approved this amendment to the San Juan County Plan, or I should say the amendment to the San Juan County Development Plan, allowed this spot zoning. Now, prior, all subdivisions in the unincorporated areas have been 5 or close to 10 acres, like Canyon Terrace. Elk Meadows Ranch was 5 acres apiece, and then Elk Meadows was 5 acres up to 20 acres. And that fits our rural plan, but not the spot zoning. So the spot zoning should never have been approved. Now, I want to address the well reports that were done in 2014, 8 years ago. Now, this is in the lowest portion of the Elk Meadows Ranch, which is on both sides of the 331 or Peter Springs Road. The water level was at 63 feet, I believe, 8 years ago, back when there used to be a pond on the same road that has dried up and not come back. I would guarantee that if a well report was done now, it wouldn't be at 63 feet. There simply is not enough water for this type of zoning. Now, we had a controversy last time because 2 representatives, the developer and the owner, said that, well, they see this whole area as being subdivided like this. And the owner said, no, it's just this 18 acres or few acres. And then they were going to donate the rest to a wildlife refuge. Well, wildlife refuge just means that you're not going to hunt, disturb, or attack those particular animals. It doesn't preclude you from building single family homes. And they probably won't ever build them. What they'll do is they'll advertise this land all over the world, and people come in and make payments for 20 years, and they make all the money off the land, and there's nothing built there, there's nothing done there, and there's no water, and it's just not proper, okay? So historically, this has been a dry farming area, and there's a reason for that. There simply isn't enough water, and don't pass the buck on to the state and the Water Resources Board. Be aware of this. This is our county. Water is a problem in this county, and it's something that you need
That's
to
time
consider
right there.
and keep in mind. And is that the end of my time?
That is time.
Could I make one 30-second quote, please?
Just wrap it up.
Okay, this was from the San Juan Economic Development Director addressing the Monticello City Council, and I quote in the San Juan Record of January 19th, 2002. It was Leslie Gessler, I believe.
Hurry up.
Okay, she addressed the concern she hears the most often from residents that they don't want to see San Juan County become Moab, end quote. If this isn't Moab, what is?
Thanks,
if this development is.
All right, continuing forward on here. The next one I have on here is Lauren Bernali.
Good morning.
Hey, Lauren.
Mr. Chair, Gray Eyes, Commissioners. Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm here to speak to item 11. I represent the Navajo Nation Human Rights Commission. I'm a policy analyst for the office. First of all, we do not support the efforts underway with the county commission to change the school board redistricting plan. We strongly recommend San Juan County Commission maintain the NNHRC plan that was passed on January 18, 2022. This is a third attempt to change the redistricting plan for the school board since the first passage of that ordinance concerning redistricting for the school board on December 21st, 21. Moreover, we did not get any public input with respect to the ordinance that's before us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Next one on here, I have Austin's. I think this is Anne.
Good morning, commissioners. This is Ann Austin from Spanish Valley, and I just want to go on the record in agreement with my neighbors around concerns about how applicants are chosen for the Planning Commission. My intention is not to advocate for myself having a seat on the Planning Commission or to complain that I didn't get selected or that I don't like who's being recommended. It really is about how the county could improve this process. I think we know that the planning commissioners make decisions that are very significant to the county, so it makes it all that much more important that the county take the time to develop new and improved bylaws that helps protect the county from bias and exclusionary practice around the appointment of commissioners. The problems are definitely around what the qualifications should be for a citizen planner and how the recommending committee treats the applicants equally, ideally. I was told that I was not qualified because I didn't have land use experience. I was not granted an interview, but I have learned since through resources provided to me by the Utah Ombudsman's Office that San Juan County's requirement for a planning commissioner to have land use experience really is not necessary. Multiple sources describe planning commissioners to be everyday people who want to serve their community and do not have previous planning experience. The state requires and provides training for planning commissioners. Even our planning commissioners that are on the commission now, they often run their own businesses. They're extremely busy, and it's very hard for them to take the time to fulfill all of the roles that they could possibly be filling as planning commissioners. So it might be advantageous for the county to broaden the net and look at other potential candidates that are willing to serve. And I just ask that you revise these bylaws. And thank you for your time, and thank you for everything you do.
Thanks, Ann. Okay, the next one on here, I have Jeff.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jeff Mattson from Pat Creek. Thank you for your service to the county and for listening to these public comments. I also request that you table agenda item number 15, the appointments to the P&Z Commission. Like Ann, I am not advocating for myself. I was a candidate for one of these positions. I was actually interviewed, and I didn't feel like my experience or knowledge of the land use issues was any different than Ann or some of the other folks that were excluded. So that's, just want to put that in. The reason I asked that you table this item is that I believe the procedures and processes leading up to the recommended appointments were administered arbitrarily and led to the exclusion of knowledgeable, engaged, and qualified candidates. Others have spoken about the process. I'd like to address what I see are deficiencies in the procedure, namely the rules, procedures, and bylaws of the Planning Commission. As you know, these bylaws were quickly written and adopted in February 20th, 2020 after several P&Z seats expired and there was some interest in those seats. A side-by-side comparison shows that most of these bylaws were copied verbatim from those of Grand County. However, several new sections were added for the San Juan County bylaws. All of these new sections limit and restrict citizen participation on these commissions. These sections are members, and it talks about area requirements, and I'll get into that later. Terms of office. One of the items in the terms of office is current members don't have to interview for new, to renew their position. It's kind of funny, if you look at Wayne County's bylaws, they say, and I quote, a commission member shall not be automatically reappointed. So in San Juan County, we say they shall be. And the third one is the section on candidate qualifications. So on the member section that was added, this stipulates that the makeup of the P&Z Commission must consist of 7 members from certain areas: Blanding, Monticello, Bluff, LaSalle, Spanish Valley Special Service District, and then 1 at large. Looking at the bylaws of neighboring counties, Grand, Wayne, Garfield, Emory, no such stipulation can be found in their bylaws. I feel that this requirement suppresses citizen participation. In some areas of the county, P&Z decisions are incredibly important, impacting citizens profoundly. Look at what's going on in Elk Ridge. In mid-2020, 2 positions opened up, one from LaSalle and one from Blanding. It took over 5 months to fill these positions, and I would say that there weren't a lot of people, breaking down your doors. The Bluff position has also had little interest in the past. And as you've heard, the current representative, who has now been recommended for another 4-year term, attended 3 of 13 meetings last year. Why require appointments from specific areas when it leads to open vacancies and or uninterested commission members? Wouldn't the county and its citizens be better served by having a P&Z commission made up of engaged members who are knowledgeable and willing to put in the time and energy for this important position? So that's all I have to say about item number 5. I'd also like, I oppose the rezoning of the Elk Ranch subdivision, item number 17.
Thanks, Jeff. All right, the next one on here, I have Marlene Huckabee.
Good morning, commissioners. Thank you for listening to me. I live in Spanish Valley on Sunny Acres Lane. I'll try not to repeat what others have said, but it sounds to me like you need to have a class, and it can be taught by contractors and builders. It would be people that would attend, would be people, citizens that want to be on the P&Z committee. That way you have a whole core of people they can select from that have been taught by builders and contractors, the codes, the laws, the sizes, et cetera, et cetera. So that's my suggestion. And for number 5, please table it until the laws are a little bit clearer. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm not seeing any other hands raised on here. If you'd like to make a public comment, go ahead and unmute yourself. Okay, commissioners, I'm not seeing anybody unmute themselves. That, commissioners, is your public comment.
Gentlemen.
Okay, somebody in the audience, go ahead and come up and introduce yourself. Tell us where you live within the county. And
quick on item 13, speaking in regard to the special event ordinance.
Your name?
My name's Scott Mitchell. Been a resident here for a little over 25 years. Anyways, the way it is written, weddings, graduation parties, birthday parties, celebrations of life are not part of the exemptions for filing an application and having to purchase a permit. It's going to be a minimum of $100 plus insurance. I think this ordinance needs to be tabled and rewritten because the tyrant gene seems to be surfacing again. Thank you.
thanks. Okay. Can he give you your commissioner chair? Do you want somebody to take somebody else's time? I think you can play that game all day long. And so,
Okay, go ahead.
Hey, Mac.
hey, yeah, go ahead, Kendall. Hold on just a second. Did you have a?
I was just going to make a comment here in the public comment portion about the special events policy. My office was pretty busy last week. But we did review it, and we sent an email out this morning saying that it was our recommendation also to table it and let us work through that one a little bit more. We weren't involved in the drafting of it, but in our review, we had quite a few concerns with it as well. So just wanted the commission to know that was the county attorney's office's position on the special events policy as well. And I figured now was as good a time to pass that along as any, because it's likely that you didn't receive our email much before the meeting started. That's all.
Thank you.
Commissioners, I just came aware of that special events item 13, and I believe it should be tabled until it could be looked at closer. Thank you.
Okay.
Mac, Chairman Gray Eyes, this is Carolyn Daly. May I have permission?
I think you already have time. Your time. Thank you.
Do you want another public comment? We're still in public
Mr.
comment.
Adam is itchy to leave. Go ahead.
1 hour on public.
Thank you. Kim Henderson from Monticello. I also serve on the Monticello City Council. I would like to encourage the commission to adopt the new school board map. I appreciate the opportunity that we've had to comment on it. I believe I made comment on the San Juan County website as well along with maybe over 30 other people that did. I think that the fact that this map has been brought back so many times shows that the commission is willing to listen to public comment and concerns. I feel like this map C will best represent the students, the student body, and provide the most local representation for each community. I find the other map insufficient as far as it would allow for representation from on the other side of the county to represent people clear down south. And I don't find that in the best interest of our school students, our teachers, or anything. So I would as well like to encourage and respectfully request that the commission adopt map C. Thank you.
Thanks, Kim. Okay, commissioners, I'm not seeing anybody else wanting to make a public comment. That, commissioners, is your public comment period for today.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Berryboy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before we get into the consent agenda, two things I would like to make an attempt. First one is to direct Mr. Nick Sandberg to draft a letter to the Utah Division of Water Quality opposing the Lisbon Valley Mining Company request. And that would draft a letter from San Juan County opposing to the to aquifer exemptions for the injection wells as soon as possible. And also the other one is to move item number 5, consent agenda, to the action item. I'd like to make that motion, sir, before we get into consent agenda.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Do I hear a second? I guess number 11 is going to be the directing Nick Sandberg to write a letter to
So we can.
State Water.
So that one.
Opposing
agenda.
the
It's not on the agenda.
Not on the agenda.
That's not on the agenda, but I'm making a recommendation.
So we just violate the rules again.
The agenda item wasn't on there. We did insert it. What's the difference?
You can't. You have to give the public notice on the agenda for any
It wasn't on the
items to be
public
added.
notice.
No.
The agenda wasn't.
The agenda was placed on the Utah Public Notice website. Yeah,
I mean,
it's
the
there.
item wasn't on here.
Correct. The Lisbon Valley was not on the agenda at all. We can, and just so you're aware, we have submitted 2 public comments to that in situ in the past. It was back when Commissioner Maryboy was chair of the commission. He had signed those. So we do have those 2 comment letters already submitted. I can just bring those back and send them back to the commissioners so that you could see that we've already made comments to that. So it's been a 2, almost 3-year process for this whole entire thing. And so
Opposing the
correct, the in situ and protecting the water, we've made those statements in the past. A 3rd letter would be repetitive to the letters that you've already submitted.
Do you understand that, Mr. Maryboy?
And I can send those out this afternoon so you can refresh your memory on what our position was.
Mr. Maryboy.
Yes, sir. Trying to get out of the mute here. Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
you are the chairman of the commission, and anything that's on the agenda that we've just barely approved, that can be altered or moved in any way. From the consent agenda, we can move that item to the action item. And my request for Nick Sandberg to write a letter, that is a request within the commission. So that can be done. Kendall will probably oppose to it, but that's the way it's always been done, and that's how we ran the meeting at previous meetings.
Okay. So your motion to move number 5 to action item would be more appropriate.
Yes.
The letter to be written is already, we already submitted the opposing the action.
Okay. Well, I guess the item is to move that item to the action item.
Okay. Is there a second to the motion?
I thought under the consent agenda, there's already as an action item. I don't understand why we're doing it.
Well, the reason why it needs to go to the action item is there's several requests were made to table.
Then let's table it.
So there's no motion to table it.
Yeah.
The item on the consent agenda 1 to 4 is okay. 6 to 10 is okay. 5, if you make a motion, with your motion to table number 5 out of the 10 would be more appropriate, Mr. Maryboy.
Yes, sir. And back to answer Mr. McDonald and whoever is asking. If the DWQ wasn't requesting for no comments, then we wouldn't be discussing this. The action has been passed, yes, but the DWQ is still asking for requesting some comments. That was the reason why. And if they don't know that we pass a resolution, then why are they asking that? So my motion still stands to remove the action item from the consent agenda to the action item.
Which item?
The only item that's on there that he's referencing is the number 5, the appointment of the planning
We
commission
sent the
members.
letters to the DWQ.
The DWQ is not on the agenda today.
Is there a deadline on the opposing public comment or?
On as far as the Lisbon Valley mine?
Yeah.
Yes. February 8th, I believe, is the deadline for that. During the January 19th, and I'll go ahead and address it now while we're here. During the January 19th public hearing that was held in Salt Lake City regarding this item, they've opened it up and allowed for public comments for an extension of the area, as well as public comments for the bond. So they've opened it up for another public hearing, but in that January 19th meeting, they specifically made mention that all other previous public comments to this item are still in consideration for that. And so with that, and upon hearing that from the Division of Drinking Water, I understood that is the previous comments that the commission has provided in the resolution. It was actually a letter that you had Nick address and send to this process as a public comment, that is still valid and still in consideration with the process. This is just another step in the process for public comments, specifically for the extension and the surety bond that they're asked to place on making sure that in the end, if there is contamination, that there are money set aside to pay for the cleanup. But your letter of opposition for the whole in situ process, protection of the water there for not only the farms, but the cattle operation in that area, that all still stands as a valid public comment that you had submitted in the process. Hopefully that helps clear that up. But yeah,
Did you hear that, Mr. Maryboy?
Yes, I do. I really totally don't agree with it, but I'll go ahead and stand aside. But still, we need to move that item number 5 to action item.
Okay. Is there a second? Where would it be on the action item?
What was that?
Where would you place the action item if you're in a motion to table it?
If I want if I want it moved to the action item, it would be either first, or if there's anything that's more important, just like the some of the resolutions, I would either put it up front and have it be the first item on the agenda, the action item.
Mr. Chair.
Is that Kendall?
That is our attorney.
Yes, go ahead.
So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the intention is. I mean, I understand where Commissioner Maryboy's coming from, and I don't disagree with him. But if the only purpose that there is for moving it to the action item section is so that it can be tabled, it can be a motion to approve the consent agenda can be made that excludes number 5 and tables number 5. And then it doesn't have to be brought down and rehashed. If Commissioner Maryboy has an idea to have a further discussion about it in the action item, then I can see why he would want to move it down into the action item. But if the whole goal is to just table it, that can be done through a motion to accept the consent agenda, excluding item 5 and tabling item 5 in one motion, and it achieves the same purpose. But I'm not sure what it is that he would like to do, but that I just wanted to weigh in and give a couple of options to the commission to maybe move that along. Either way.
Thank you very much, sir.
That's exactly what I was thinking about.
Thank you.
And I said something about it, just, in your motion, just either leave it out or just say motion to adopt 1 to 4, 6 to 10, and table number 5. That would take care of
that would work either way. Yeah. Either way it will work.
So with that,
motion that would be motioning item number 1, 2, 3, and 4, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and tabling the item that I'm talking about.
Yeah. Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Mr. Adams seconds. Any further question, comments? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, nay. 3 in favor, 0 opposed, with number 5 being tabled. With that, recognition, presentation, and information items. We have none.
Nope.
Next is the ordinance. Proposed ordinance 2021-11C.
Correct. This one's an ordinance amending ordinance 2021-11B of the San Juan County Board of Commissioners redistricting the Board of Commission and School Board voting districts as required by Utah statute. So I have placed on here, as asked, the 2021-11C ordinance, which on here changes and accepts the San Juan County School Board District Option B modified. Let me just make sure I'm getting the right one. So it's the San Juan County School Board District Option B modified is one ordinance example placed on here for consideration. This keeps the commission districts entirely what was originally adopted. So literally all we're doing today is just considering which school board district map. We're going to select. On here, I did post and publish the public comments that we received from this on our website. We've received a lot of public comments, so you have those in your packet. And then today we've also passed out the additional public comments that we received since publishing of the commission agenda. Let me get down to the map. So hopefully you've taken time and read through the public comments on the maps. It's been crazy busy. Last week we were up at the legislative session through several meetings, and just through the process, looking at this, I did reach back out to our contracted vendor, William Cooper, kind of our leading expert in these maps, and just gave him an update. Bill, this is where we're at. The Navajo Nation has proposed their school board districts. That was a concern where the incumbents aren't in any of those. They weren't considered in those districts, and so because of that, there's a lot of public comments that we're receiving on that map alone, and gave him an update on where we are at with his map that he has submitted to the county with the Eastland modifications. And so two differences in maps, where the one that he had made included the incumbents. The one that the Navajo Nation did not include all the incumbents. It actually placed 3 school board members in the same district, which caused a bunch of problems and concerns that came out. So upon that, he's like, well, send me that from the Navajo Nation. So I sent him that. He's like, let me take a closer look at these maps and see what I can do. See if I can get closer to what the Navajo Nation's intent is, and try to get closer to making sure that we're aligning the school district boundaries in accordance with the current incumbents, as well as making sure the feeder systems and the school boundaries are within the appropriate districts. And then also making sure that this is constitutionally viable on the redistricting, that we're meeting all of the objectives that Judge Shelby and the special master had originally proposed when we were redistrict. And so he, and mind you that his contract expired in December 31st. He had mentioned that, okay, yeah, I'll give this a crack and see if I can help. And so he did. And that came out Saturday. I put it on the public notice. I had time, so I was traveling back down here Saturday. I took some time on Sunday, made sure everything was posted on public notice well before the meeting, and the legal requirements for public notices. And so we did push that out there. But in the meantime, once I received that map, I sent that map out to the Navajo Nation, the school district, as well as you commissioners, so that everybody had that going forward in preparation for this meeting. The map that you had heard in public comments is option C. Let me get to it. I'm trying to speak at the same time as I'm going through here. So in here, like I mentioned, I have 2 ordinances that are proposed. Whichever one you want to select is up to you. But one includes this option C as the possibility. And so I know this is new, and I know that a lot of public hasn't seen this option yet. But if you take all the public comments that we received heretofore, this tries to summarize everybody's public comments. And so where the previous Navajo Nation map that was proposed, where that puts all 3 school board district members into one district, this one here undoes that. It pays special attention to those incumbents in here, but it also pays special attention to the percentages and everything that were proposed by the Navajo Nation in their map. So it's trying to get a win-win situation for everybody. That was kind of the intent with this new map. So as you look at the option C map in here, where the Navajo Nation map had District 1 that went up a little bit higher in this, we brought it back down to the Eastland because we're trying to get as near as possible to the one person, one vote in the percentages. Mr. Cooper dropped this area down on District 1 a little bit further to capture more of the population so that we could try to come as close as possible to balancing everything out within all of the districts. So if you look at the new one, where option C is a 5.79% deviation, which is allowable within there. Your population totals, are pretty close throughout on here. He has literally tried to get it as close as possible to what the Navajo Nation had on their map. So I don't know how in depth you want me to go over this new one. He did provide the Zoom areas because that was a concern, of just making sure that the school board members are within their own districts. In the Navajo Nation map, and I don't know if you've all had a chance to view the school district's video that Ron had sent out, describing their concerns and their issues with the school district, with the Navajo Nation map and the school districts, and not seating and paying attention where the incumbents live, and putting all three into one district caused some serious concerns that the school district and the school board had. Namely, you have one school board member, Lucille, whose term expires, and Ron, correct me if I get any of this wrong, her term expires at the end of 2022. The other two school district members that would remain in that district, they still have 2 years on their terms. And so basically what that does for me in my head is, by Lucille's term expiring, now you have two district members that are in that area, that represent that area, that do not have a firm understanding of the schools, the culture, the people in that area. But essentially, they still get to continue to serve out their terms. They still would have 2 years on their terms, where the Montezuma and Aneth, Red Mesa, that area really doesn't have representation that can speak culturally to those schools within that system. You would have the two existing board members that are there. They would continue their terms. With the redistricting, obviously you wouldn't have anyone for District 1, so you'd have a possibility also of one of those members going to an at-large position. So essentially you could have 6 school board members in there and elect through special elections somebody to represent the District 1 in there. So it just causes, the Navajo Nation map caused a bunch of problems. But really, for me, in my head, what it did is it lessened the ability for those parents and those school kids to have representation in that district, because those school board members, they really don't know that area. They don't know the culture, whereas Lucille had that ability. And so that kind of caused the problem. I hope I covered that fairly, what the school board was. And that was the school board's concern, primarily, is you kind of left out Montezuma and Aneth area from equal representation from there. And so because of that, we have this again at our review. A couple other things to point out. The state of Utah has asked that these be submitted to them by the end of January, so January 31st. And I don't know if Kendall wants to address this or not, or Alex, just one of our attorneys, to weigh in here. We can't find that in Utah code, that date, but we do need to make headway and get these approved. It has been expressed to us. There are systems at play that continue behind the scenes, whether it's the selection of delegates and setting up the caucus system. That's still all on hold here in San Juan County while we continue to go whack-a-yo-yo on these district maps. So we haven't finalized the school district maps with the state. They're super concerned with this. I've told them, hey, we've got some concerns and some issues that we're working through. Bear with us. But at no point have they literally screamed at me other than the clerk's office, this is their role primarily, to oversee elections. So they have reached out to the clerk auditors, notified them that there's that January 31st, but we're still kind of in a crux here of what to do and what to select. When you look at some of the numbers, and I don't know, Mr. Cooper, he's in court today. He's testifying in a federal case, because he kind of is that subject matter. Everyone goes to him. He's one of the leading experts. He does this throughout the nation. He was somebody that represented the Navajo Nation when they had sued San Juan County. And so when I look at his expertise in designing the maps and trying to get as close as possible, he was there through the trial. So he understands what Judge Shelby wanted, what Judge Shelby's intent was. He understood what the special district or mapper, what his intent was. So he had seen that process. And so I do rely on his expertise. When he produced option C, he said, hey, Mac, maybe this will work better. It goes through and kind of like the Navajo Nation, where before we had dropped Denahotso out of the modified map, he placed that back in. So you have Denahotso in there, so it further aligns a little bit down south, similar to how the Navajo Nation had these included in theirs. The Navajo Nation took a population that went a little bit further than the borders of those along 163, Highway 163 right there. They took it up a little bit further on that census block, that census district. But, Bill Cooper, he tried to give us something that was a win-win for both. I did reach out and provide this to the Navajo Nation. There was concerns. They still feel that the map that they suggested is the most preferred map that they would recommend to the county. But I do like the fact that Mr. Cooper, kind of the independent side of him, not really playing favoritism to any, is trying to find the best of all possibilities with our districts. I could continue to go on. I don't really want to get into the merits of all of the maps statistically, and I don't know, commissioners, if you want to have the discussion with that, with total population, packing, items like that. I think when you look at the totals across the board, when you look at all of the requirements for redistricting, and I kind of liken it to a speed limit. Speed limit on a highway is 55 miles an hour. We all know that is the law. And so when you're driving down the road, we just don't pay attention to the speed limit. You've got to pay attention to the intersections. You got to pay attention to the vehicles next to you. You have to pay attention to the balls coming from the side from children playing. There's a lot of things that you have to pay attention to. And it's the same thing in redistricting. There's not one thing that you necessarily look at. You look at all things. You look at the adjacencies within the districts, making sure that they make sense in size and being next to each other and how those interplay with one another, which we did. When you look at the commission districts, they make sense. And, you look at the population, you look at the indigenous population, you look at whether it's Hispanic, Native American, you look at all of that. And Mr. Cooper being that for us, this is the individual you had me contract with, as that leading expert. He has provided these maps as that and has told us, hey, these are viable, these work. So with that, commissioners, I leave it at that unless you have any questions regarding the populations and the numbers. If you want an explanation on that, I can go there as well.
Question?
No, I just make comment. I've got in my folder almost 40 emails from people in the county that are encouraging the commission to go back and adopt option B modified. I don't think there's enough difference between option B modified and option C that either one of them would probably be acceptable to the school district people and to the citizens. But I did want to point out that in my book, and I think in yours and maybe Kenneth's, we have over 40 emails encouraging us to adopt option B modified or option C.
Like to hear from the Laura Benali. Are you still?
Looks like she's still here. Lauren, are you still there?
Yes, I am, sir. As I stated earlier, the Navajo Nation stands by the plan that was passed on January 18th.
Yes, I understand.
I want to also raise issues from the past. I want to raise issues from the past litigation about the aspect of effectiveness. As you know, the county lacked its communication, the part on effectiveness of getting out information to the public. We know you received over 40 emails, probably largely from those individuals who have internet access. What did you guys do with the Navajos that live on the southern part of San Juan County? What information was conveyed to them regarding this plan? They don't have internet. Some of them don't even have, most of them don't have cell or phone services. That is a concern that we will raise. We also continue to say that we support the plan that was passed on the 18th. I don't know why the county continues to take our plan to the consultant when we don't even have input or dialogue with this person to come to some agreeable type of plan. Again, the issues of effectiveness are being raised. Thank you.
Okay.
Do you want me to answer to any of that, Commissioner? There was an effort made to reach out to the Navajo Nation. Our school superintendent did reach out along those lines and did communicate. And
Can the superintendent,
Mr. Chair,
address the concerns that Lauren had?
Mr. Maryboy.
thank you, Mr. Chair. I really don't see why we have all this smoke screen covering everything that we're doing. I think you need to understand that the resolution that we passed, the Navajo Nation Human Rights Commission maps, we've already passed. And I don't know why our administrator has not even sent that to the state yet. That should have already happened because we passed that. And now we know that he's holding the information and the resolution that we passed. Somewhere somebody is sleeping at the wheel and not doing its job.
I'd like to make a request that we hear from the superintendent that he address the concerns that Lauren Benelli told us just a minute ago.
Mr. Nielsen?
Yes, in our last board meeting, all five board members were very concerned about this local representation, that they might be asked to represent an area that they do not live. And I think, as Mr. McDonald spoke to very well, that they don't really understand the culture and the very uniqueness of the region. They don't understand the culture of the schools. They're not in the schools very much. And all five board members felt that was a great concern. So they directed me as the superintendent to make sure that I educated the public, because if this map stands, if we stay with the NNHRC map, come March or come when we need to file for new school board positions, there will not be an opportunity to file for the Montezuma Creek Aneth region, because as you explained, that board member, there'll be 3 board members in that district, and their tenures will go all the way through 20 of 24. So the public could be very confused in the Montezuma Creek Aneth area. Same with the Blanding and the Monticello area when they have special elections, when they're not sure why they're having special elections. So there was a great concern of how to get the word out to the public. We wanted to make sure we got it to all areas of the county. So I was directed to take some education and take it to all parts of the county. I met with all of the local principals. I asked them, how do you best communicate with your parents and your stakeholders? Because they have worked for years to develop systems to best get the word out. They told me the best way to do it is to bring it into the school, make it available at the school for those that want to ask questions and see the videos. They can provide the internet to those. And then, but they said the largest groups that they reach out to in both the Monument Valley and the Montezuma Creek area are when they have a game that is streamed online, a basketball game. So they said, if you had a video that we could stream along with our basketball game, that would be the most effective way to get the word out to all of the public. And so we followed that plan. So that's what was done. This video and this information was presented in the schools for those that came inside, and then it was streamed alongside the basketball games, and then it was also blasted out through the means that we have through the educational means. So we feel like we reached a very broad group of citizens of this county about as effectively as we could with the time frame we had and the constraints. But we tried to do the most effective and strategic campaign as possible.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Maryboy. Go
You
ahead.
know, Mr. Chair, incumbent is not the issue here. Redistricting happens all the time. And redistricting is not for the benefit of incumbent. Redistricting for the benefit of residents and students. That's what we're talking about. Call for the question.
Your motion is Eastland adjustment? Is that your motion?
No, I didn't make a motion.
Okay, I need a motion then.
I'll make a motion that we adopt option C as prepared by Mr. Cooper.
Is there a second? Going once. Twice. Three. Go to 4 tonight. Navajo practice. So there's no second. So that means January 18th action still stands. Thank you. With that, go to the next one, number 12.
All right. So item number 12 is consideration and adoption of an ordinance adopting and enforcing the San Juan County fire policy for buildings in the unincorporated areas of the county. Thanks, Ron. This one here we should have David Gallegos somewhere. He is up. Okay, not seeing him or hearing him online. Let me see if I've got a staff report in here that I can switch to. Basically, commissioners, when this ordinance here is just provides the authority and responsibility to, it looks like David's trying to call in. Right now, I just got a text message from him, is to help abate the public nuisance of wildfire on unincorporated, privately or county-owned forest, range, watershed, and wildland interface throughout the county. This kind of gives a little bit more structure and enforceability. On here, it states the responsibility for this policy. The San Juan County Fire Chief shall prepare, maintain, and update a necessary fire policy, which shall be a governing document enforced by this ordinance for approved construction or the development in unincorporated areas due to the seasonally and yearly changes and challenges of fire risk in the county. This provides the discretion to the San Juan County Fire Chief to enforce state fire code and rules that are under those codes, as well to modify this fire policy to reflect current fire conditions in the county. So a lot of this is more preventative in nature. If we see somebody out there building a home that has some fire code violations, we can then start to enforce it, and he can help enforce that with that. Dave, is that you? I don't know if that was you on here. Maybe not. Okay, looks like him. Okay, Dave, are you there? Go ahead and unmute yourself. It'd be *6. Okay, if there is, continuing on, due to the drought, if there are heightened drought issues, less participation, some of the geological conditions here in San Juan County. Due to the drought, if there are heightened drought issues, less participation, some of the geological conditions here in San Juan County. Go ahead, Dave.
Can you hear me now?
Go ahead. Yes, got it.
Yes, got it. Okay, Max. So this is obviously exactly what you said. It's just give us a document. So when we So when we apply some of this. Yeah, so when we enforce these rules, we have a document stating that it's in place within the county.
Any questions?
Does anybody have any questions on this?
No questions.
No question.
Move to approve.
Mr. Adam moves to approve. Is there a second?
Now I unlocked it again. Yes. Second.
Okay. Any further
Thank you,
question or
Commissioners.
comment? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Mm-hmm.
Aye also. Opposed by nay? 3 in favor, 0 opposed, motion carries. Next.
Okay, the next one, Commissioners, on your agenda is the consideration and approval of an ordinance of the Board of San Juan County Commissioners establishing rules and regulations for special events within San Juan County. Elaine has this item, but just in light of not just the public comments, but mainly our county attorney, the ability to have a full review. So kind of a background to our process. All contracts and resolutions, ordinances go through the county attorney for approval. And given the fact that during the legislative session, we get lost in a lot of our efforts, the county attorney needs more time to review this. He had some questions that he sent out earlier to staff that I don't think either I didn't hit send or they may not be adequate. So we still need a little bit more time. I'd like or ask that you table this item for today. We'll bring it back. We did hear some of the public comments and concerns with this. We tried to get this as tight as possible, but do know that we're missing out on a lot of sales tax here in this county, and this is an effort to rein that in.
If I might add, I agree with everything that the administrator just said, and I think it's a great start for us to put into place and be able to look at moving forward with the county attorney's advice. And I think it's definitely, an ordinance that needs to be passed this year would be great, because it would mean additional revenue coming in to the county. That's much needed, especially when our infrastructure is being used during the events. But I'm in full agreement that we need to table it, go back and have more clarity to some of the questions. And I did respond to the county attorney with my comments. So I agree.
I'll make a motion, we table this request until the county attorney can meet with Elaine and review the ordinance.
Mr. Chair, I thought I made that motion when we removed it from the consent agenda, along with this.
We didn't move this in the consent agenda.
This is the
This is, Mr. Maryboy, this is special events.
I'll second it.
Okay. Table motion. There's no quite room for questions, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye also. Opposed, nay? 0. Motion carries. 3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Long.
just because there were some public comments, I guess I just wanted to put a plug in that if there's specific concerns that the public has, we'd be more than happy. My office, as well as I'm sure Mac and Elaine, would be more than happy to receive their emails over the next week, so that we can maybe try to take those into account as much as possible in our proposal that we bring, so that we're not behind the 8 ball, so to speak, trying to address them after we've already put in the effort to revise the document. So if the public would like to email myself or Mac or Elaine or all 3 of us with specific concerns or comments, I don't have a problem with that. I would welcome it.
Okay. That was after the motion, so.
See, Lauren Benelli's got her hand up.
I don't know if this is to that item, though.
No.
I think it was for the previous.
Okay. Next. 14.
All right. The next one is consideration of the Utah Food Pantry Food Bank funding support letter. This one here, we'd received a request from the Utah Food Bank where they were making funding requests to the state through the appropriations committees. They just asked for our support. Just so the public is aware, there is a food bank coming to San Juan County, and we fully want to support their efforts. They will be located in Blanding. They will be building a new.
Motion for administrator to draft that letter.
It's already drafted.
It's already drafted. I just need your approval.
I'll second with a comment.
Mr. Adams?
Been working with the food bank for quite a few months. Their desires, actually, it was David Damshin, the state treasurer at that time, had a strong desire to see more presence in San Juan County for the food bank, especially in the southern part of the county. And so over the several months, they've found a location in Montezuma Creek to build a distribution center. They found a place in Blanding to build a warehouse, and they're trying to get a location in Monument Valley for another distribution center, so that those centers, I believe they've already contracted with a contractor to build those facilities down on the reservation. So I applaud the state and all those involved in trying to expand their presence in San Juan County of food bank food services.
Okay. Any further comments or questions? There being none, all those in favor
No,
say
sir.
aye. 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 Opposed, nay? 0, 3 in favor, 0 opposed, motion carries. Number 15.
Next one is consideration and approval of a letter of support for the San Juan County Event Center application. I don't know if you want Elaine to give a presentation on this, or you just want to make a motion.
Yes, the
Go
grant has
ahead.
been submitted.
Do you want her to do that, or do you want me to make a motion?
Yeah, Perry needed Texas review.
I'll make a motion that we approve the letter to be sent to Angela Martinez, the EDA Regional Director, in behalf of our visitor services.
Any second? Somebody's barking. Is there a second?
That's a second.
I did. I said second.
Okay.
make sure there's a rough in the minutes.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. Opposed, nay. 0. 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that
She's
support.
got the next item too.
Next, 16.
Consideration and approval of a contract with Love Communications for travel and destination tourism data.
This data, which will be a analytics platform that will pull statistics together. We currently don't have that now in the Visitor Services and Economic Development Department, but it will be capturing all of that data and those statistics and putting it into a dashboard that we will be able to review to tell us what's happening, where people are going, how long they're staying here in San Juan County, what their spending is. And it's particularly useful for developers that are looking to come into San Juan County to look at that and get an idea of what happens in our county, especially during the tourism season. So I have had the opportunity to work on this type of a dashboard before and found it very useful, very informative. And I did meet and brought this to the attention of the Community and Economic Development Board, and they really liked the idea and agreed because the funding's coming out of grant funding we have, so it's not coming out of any of our current budgeted funds. But they were happy because it would also help our local business owners to look at that information and determine maybe what their new strategy might be. You know, do they have the potential to maybe change the way they market their business? So it really has a lot of information that will become useful. We'll also have information regarding TRT revenue totals, not anything that would be information that would be proprietary, but at least totals. So I think this dashboard would really help our staff, myself, the Community and Economic Development Board, as well as any business owners and developers.
Motion to approve.
Bruce, motion. Is there a second?
Is that item 16?
Yes.
Yes, second.
Any question? Comment? All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you for your
Opposed,
support.
nay. Motion carries. 3 in favor, 0 opposed. 17.
Item 17, we have consideration and approval of a request for the rezone Monticello Development Company LLC. This one is Scott. This was tabled last commission meeting. You had asked that we look into the water. During that presentation, you heard it today in the public comments that there is already a water well out there located on this site for the development that would encompass these 8 parcels, right? Go ahead, Scott, take it away.
I believe so. Yeah, I'm not sure the exact status of any existing wells. I think there are some. So you asked for public comment to be remained open for this for the last 2 weeks. We did receive public comments. They were included in your packet, the ones that we received up until January 27th. We did receive one additional comment since that time. All of the comments are in opposition to the rezone application. We did not receive any comments in support of the rezone. Most of the comments made cited small lot sizes, water issues, lack of water, septic issues, and spot zoning, lack of fitting with the general plan. All of them are very similar to the comments you've also received today. So that's outlined in here, and the comments are available. I don't know what else you wanted from me for this. So.
Okay, Mr. Adams.
two things. When the ordinance was amended in 2019, I was under the understanding that that ordinance amendment was specifically made to address lot sizes in Spanish Valley, because prior to sewer and water in Spanish Valley, the requirement was 1 acre to accommodate a septic system. But once sewer and water were provided and a public system provided, then we felt it was appropriate to allow people to subdivide their lots into smaller lots, because the requirement for septic was no longer there. Now, tell me how that has changed everything in San Juan County, because we tried to address a problem in Spanish Valley.
Yeah, so the zoning in Spanish Valley has in it a land use table that allows lot sizes with, they're kind of a type 1 and a type 2 density for Spanish, the specific to Spanish Valley. Type 1 is, I can't remember which one's which. One of them allows water and sewer, one of them is without connection to water and sewer, and you have to have an acre. This amendment was different, and it was prior to my time being the planning and zoning administrator, but my understanding is that it was to comply with an on-site wastewater rule from the state which allows you to go down to 1/4 acre if you have shared wells, so you maintain the separation from your septics and your well.
I certainly did not understand that at all. I'd have never voted for that.
So yeah, this was
that amendment, and
a separate one.
And I thought the reason we were doing that was to accommodate Spanish Valley. So if we've changed the rule to allow smaller lot sizes, that wasn't consistent with what the county commission had been doing for the past 20 years.
Right, with the 1 acre.
And if that's something that the state was trying to get the county to do, that's completely against anything that I would have ever considered. So we've got to revisit that, Scott.
That
we have
2019.
got to revisit that,
Okay.
that amendment, because in areas, we ended up putting sewer and water in Spanish Valley because you had 300 homes down there that had a well and a septic system.
Yeah.
So it was concerning to me that somebody's neighbor was drinking their neighbor's sewage with all of the septics and the wells going on. That just didn't make any sense. So I'm really confused by this 2019, and I'd recommend that at some point we revisit that. I want to also say that this rezoning request, I have a conflict of interest, and I'm not going to vote on it. I'm not going to make a motion, and I'm not going to second, because I feel incumbent. I've talked to the attorneys about this, and I have a conflict of interest, and so that's all I'm going to say about that.
Okay,
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Maryboy.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams. Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to deny this request for the developer's request for the rezone. He can take his proposal back to the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission should do its homework regarding sewer and water wells, such as small lots. They failed to do the previously in Planning Commission should consider amend the land use code to address the problem. It's not safe for the sewer and water well to be so closely located. Just as Mr. Adam has and he previously made that same comment as well. Commission meeting, he did that comment. Put the decision back on the Planning Commission. They didn't do their job. Neighbors, residents will appreciate what we can at least do for them. I think this needs to be redressed. So I'd like to make that motion to deny this, maybe table it or vote it down.
Okay. Second by Mr. Adams.
No, I'm recusing myself.
Oh,
You can't.
Conflict of interest. I graze that property out there with my cows.
I'll second. With that, any further comment or question? Revisit as stated, meaning let's take a look at the contract or
Ordinance.
The
the ordinance.
The
Okay.
request to rezone, we're gonna deny it, right?
Okay.
So I just have a question. I'm happy to do that for sure. I just want to know how you want me to handle where we do have a current subdivision request taking advantage of the ordinance that's in place. I get it for future ordinances or future applications where we have one that's applying today under this this 2019 amendment. You may see that come back in the A1 zone that it currently is. So, and they're allowed to, according to that 2019, they can do this as of today. We can follow for sure. We'll go back to the drawing board. We'll get that revised, but they've applied under the rules as they are today. So I just wanted to make that comment that you may see that again come back to you. So, under the A1 zone. I'm not sure what the developer's going to do, but that may come back to you.
Mr. Berry Boy.
Just that you remember that I made a motion which is deny the request, and that motion stands.
Yeah.
So.
Revisit the ordinance. Or we can vote on Kenneth's motion.
Well, the situation that I understand is that an individual has submitted an application to develop, and how do we respond to that? So, in that sense, does this denial cover sufficiently to withstand any counteraction?
So the way I understand,
that would be my question.
Yeah. So and my understanding is this is a consideration of a request for rezone that was the Planning Commission asked the developer to request this, so they requested the rezone. That's all that we're considering is the rezone. So if that's denied, the subdivision application, most likely he'll come back to the Planning Commission with his subdivision application and ask, because they said we're only going to approve this if the rezone goes through.
Oh, okay.
So they're going to go back to the Planning Commission and say, can we get it approved without the rezone? We requested the rezone, got denied. Can we come back? So that's, and according to that 2019 amendment, it applies to all zoning districts that you can go down to that size. So it's going to be in the planning commission's hands how they want to handle that condition they placed on them. Whether or not so that discussion will happen in planning commission, I guess is what I'm saying. But this is a
Mr. Berry
rezone.
Boy.
Mr. Chair, it's a very
I'd like
simple
to,
process.
I'd like to
Aye.
ask you to insert in your motion a moratorium until resolve
The ordinance.
the ordinance
Yeah.
question.
Chair.
It's Alex.
I think that's Alex.
Yes.
If the commission is wanting to impose a moratorium, we do need to do that through the ordinance process. It can't be done through a motion. Or a resolution.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Berry Boy says yes.
Yes. No, I'm not going to vote.
So I
So we just denied the request.
So you just
Rezone.
Simple as that.
Correct.
okay. So with that, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye also. Opposed?
I'm just abstaining.
One abstain. Two in favor, 0 opposed, one abstain.
Thank you, commissioners.
Chair, may I ask a question about that?
Yes.
If you are wanting a moratorium put in, I would just ask that you provide MAC the details of what you want in that moratorium, just directly with MAC, so that we can get it drafted and we can get it publicly noticed, so that it's properly before the public before any decision is made on that. Thank you.
Alex, we need some help with how to stop the process right now, revisit the 2019 ordinance that opened this door and deal with it. That's all we need to do.
Yeah, and so just for your information, we are well into having redrafted the entire San Juan County zoning code. It's out for independent legal review right now. That's something the Planning Commission's been working on for the past year. And so if you wanted to impose a moratorium while we wait for that to get passed, because it's actually solved in the new draft.
Well, yeah, the 2019 discrepancy will be resolved.
Yes, it will. Yes, in the draft that we've been working on, it is resolved in the new draft.
I think we just don't want to give the Planning and Zoning Commission the green light on further action on this development.
And the only way to stop that would be through a moratorium, because until the ordinance is changed, that's the rule that any land developer or any private property owner gets to play by until we either impose a moratorium or change the ordinance.
Well, I'm going to assume I'm speaking for these other commissioners, and I shouldn't be, but I'm going to assume that we want to resolve this thing in an equitable way.
Okay, I'll get drafting on it.
All right.
Okay. Next.
Okay.
18.
Number 18, consideration and approval of a notice of award and intent to negotiate a contract with Acme Iron and Metal to perform scrap metal salvage and removal at the landfill. We had submitted an RFP last month and had three companies that had responded to that RFP. This was the one that we, through the review, had kind of the highest value that would be returned to the county, as well as the most responsive RFP in there. I've included the RFP if anybody wants to look at that RFP in the packet as well. But we would begin negotiating that contract as once
Motion
it's
to
approved.
approve.
The motion by Mr. Adams to approve.
Second.
Any further question? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. 3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Commissioner comments? Or?
Second.
Okay. Any question? Motion to adjourn by Mr. Adams, second by Mr. Maryboy. All those in favor say aye.
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 Also.
Bye.
Opposed, nay. We hereby adjourn at 2:12.